the end, I can see that you believe, and at last you will find the answers here. What you love, I can see, will change forever, and at last.
Thank you all for tuning in to another episode of In the Studio with Will J. Of course, I'm Will J. Today, my guests and I are here to talk about violence in our community, most importantly, teen violence. I'm honored to be joined here with some very special people, Mr. Adam Butler of Monitoring Radio, Ms. Kyra Thompson of Baltimore Public Schools, and Mr. Noah Walters, author of The 10 List, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right, welcome to In the Studio with Will J. I just kind of want to jump right into it. I guess a famous commentator a couple of weeks ago, I'm not going to give him too much pub with his name and stuff like that, but famous commentator a couple of weeks ago made a comment basically stating that the African American men, basically, I'm kind of paraphrasing it, but he basically said they moved towards that street culture because of the non-structure of homes. Basically, without, single moms, stuff like that. And it's not something that that's forced on. It's something that they make that choice. I just want to kind of get you guys' comments on that, and just kind of see how much does someone's environment kind of lead into them, leading that street culture life, per se. Adam, if you want to start.
Well, see, I don't think you can simplify it by saying all of them make a choice or all of them are forced into it. Some of them are forced into it. Mm-hmm. Some people, I see kids at my school that they literally see nothing around them but negativity and violence, and they feel like that's what they should do. Then I've seen kids that live out in, like Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and they're just intrigued by it, and they just want to do it because of media or what have you. So I think, you start off, that famous commentator starts off wrong by saying, all of them do this because of this. You can't just clump them all in one thing like that. It's not that simple.
He also mentioned that they reject education. Like we don't want to be we don't want to be taught that kind of thing. So
I just don't think it's that simple to really say this is where they're going for this reason. Mm-hmm. I think everybody's story is completely different. Yeah. Like I can't say that, if I was raised this way, I would be this way, Like even coming from the South for myself, I get the whole street thing, but coming even from the suburbs, like you have that same kind of connotation. It might not be, okay, they're on the street, but they might be doing things that they shouldn't be doing necessarily. And I just think that it's an adolescent stage. Like everybody goes to that point where they're testing boundaries. They might, go the wrong direction. Some people come back, some people don't. I think it has a lot to do with who's there to kind of help them and mold them into the person they want to be. But I don't think it's that simple to just say they choose it necessarily.
I think peer pressure is an awesome force. Nature versus nurture is the science, the social science at least, and it seems to have not changed over generations. And I see that there is intervention strategy that can be applied, which I'm sure we'll probably talk about, but I don't know if all the time that young people have the tools to make choices. I think they're led, even though they think they are leading, but many times the system or society, they're led.
I noticed that you have a book, right?
Yes, sir.
It's called the 10 List.
Yes.
And I was reading on your website, and I guess a part of your book you talk about, teaching students the law throughout the education process, and how that will kind of lead to less crime and things like that in the communities. Like, can you elaborate on that for us?
Well, to give you my background, I'm a police officer. I have a PhD. I have a master's degree in criminal justice. I was working on a master's. I was a school resource officer at a high school, and kids were fighting, which kids fight. And I noticed that kids were fighting because they thought it was the right thing to do, because really nobody taught kids what to do when there were provocations to violence, somebody pushed you, talk about your mother, said something derogatory or whatever, stole something from you. I mean, where do we learn? Where do we learn as to how to approach those issues? So to get it started, I researched and wrote a book about it. So,
Gotcha.
yes.
Now, like I know, especially here in PG County, like there's not a lot of programs. Like we have rec centers and libraries and things of that nature, but because of financing and budget cuts, we it's stuff is being cut. Like programs being cut or stuff closed early, things of that nature. Especially libraries. Libraries close at 6 o'clock sometimes. And, that's difficult. Like I get you guys' opinion on how much would like those programs really help us like keep kids out of the streets, like more rec centers, because it's a beauty supply store, it's Targets popping up all over the place, but not a lot of the run and shoot type of things that we had when we were younger. Yeah. So it's kind of Adam, PG County.
I mean, I think that an idle mind is dangerous for a child. They don't have anything to do. I mean, I'll say like when I moved to Largo in high school, I had a friend, his father worked at night. We went to his house. Each year it progressively got worse. First year we played on phones. Second year we hung out too late. Third year, folks was going up Target and, hanging and stealing and doing things like that. So just because our minds were idle, we had nothing to do, we had nothing constructive to do, so we just did what teenagers do. I mean, you can't make the mistake of thinking that a teenage mind or elementary school child's mind is the same as adult mind. They don't have the decision-making process that we do. It takes adults to teach them, and if you put them in a constructive environment where they can do great things, then that will happen. They will do great things. But if you leave them idle and just leave them around and just say, hey, take care of yourself, then they're going to do what kids do. I don't care what race you are.
Yeah, I don't know, like, because I coach basketball in the county, and it's like $50 to play.
Right.
Like $50. When I was younger, it was you needed a rec card.
That's it.
$12 or $8 or whatever it was. Yeah. So like, I don't think it's a lot of affordable things. Like, I mean, it is some things to do, but it's like in the area, you might got to go way, far, and some people can't afford to, take that bus ride or drive out there. Or or pay that $50 or $100 or whatever to participate in after school programs, and then if they if they don't have middle school programs like basketball and stuff, which they're getting back now, but once before they didn't have those types of things. So like you said, idle mind is dangerous, and I just think we need more of those programs we had at one point. Basketball, the mentoring programs, even if it's just hanging out at the rec center playing bumper pool or something. Yeah, like we don't have that.
And I think that there are alternative resources that we can lean on. And for me, I feel like it goes back to the parents. My mom always kept me busy. There was never a moment that I was not busy. Even when I thought that I was going to do something else, she made sure that I was tired by the time I hit the door. And I think that goes back to the mentality of like, who is raising our children? And then if you don't have the ability, because I really do understand that there are a lot of parents out there who don't have the ability to do that, but what do you lean on? Like, what are your resources? Do you have a church nearby? Like, do you have those resources at your school? Because there are a lot of people who have hands that are willing to help, but it's really connecting the dots, which is a problem for me that I find. Because I just really think that there are a lot of opportunities to keep them busy, a lot of opportunities to open their mind to more than just the street or what their friend is doing or making those prank phone calls at midnight. Like, there's a lot more things that they could do. It's just more or less like, how do we get the parents to see the resources and the resources to actually meet the hand that really needs it?
Yeah, it's a very good point. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll come back. We'll talk a little bit more about a child's environment and things of that nature. But I also want to get into hip-hop, the rap culture, and how that plays into what we're talking about today. We'll be right back.
Styles by Tiffany Pretty, where healthy hair is beautiful hair. You can follow Tiffany to see more of her work on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube.
Welcome back. I wanted to talk about hip hop. I mean, for as long as I can remember, politicians, members of the community, our parents, everybody has been saying hip hop, rap music is the reason why, kids act the way they act, the way, why there's so much violence. I want to get you guys' thoughts on that. If you feel that is fair, actually, to the hip hop community, the hip hop culture. We can start with you, Ms. Kyra.
Oh, okay. I think that we always hear this question, and I think it's two-tone. Like, yes, truth be told, we are all influenced by what we hear. Like, if you really take a real just introspective look at yourself and you realize everything that you're putting into your mind, it affects you. Like, it will affect you. Could be more aggressive based off of listening to rap music. And I see it myself. If I spend weeks just listening to hip hop, or not even hip hop, like, just if I listen to Meek Mills all week, and I go to work and I'm dealing with some people that are getting on my nerves, my first reaction is, I'm about to get you.
Yeah.
Like, but, I think that it has a lot to do with how we feed ourselves. But then too, you can't just say that that's what affects us. Like, it's an art form. Like, anything can affect us. We can walk down the street and somebody bumps into us can affect us. So I think it's really important that, as we look at our adolescents, that we understand that we have to feed them other things. Like, we have to make things available other than hip hop. Like, they have to see the world besides Nicki Minaj and Young Money. Like, there has to be something beyond that. So until we actually make the environment bigger for them, I feel like we're the ones to blame for it. Like, if that's all they watch is BET, then what do you expect they're gonna do? That's their world.
So, Adam, what you think?
I mean, I agree. Hip hop is an art form, and you can't just blame it on hip hop. But I think hip hoppers and hip hop artists have a responsibility to the community. I mean, I grew up on hip hop. I like to say that our generation was the first true hip hop generation. When we knew nothing but hip hop. There was nothing. A lot of people grew up before hip hop came around. We grew up in hip hop. I grew up listening to it all the time. I listened to some of the most ratchet music you could possibly think of. My dad was playing it, but he also explained to me what I was listening to, and he also showed me something different. So in that sense, yes, it's always about the parents, and it's always about the adults in the community to show you something different. But I think hip-hoppers do have a responsibility to at least, some of them, or maybe not hip-hoppers, but radio stations, TV, television networks, to show a balance. Because I think one thing we got when we were younger, we had the Onyxes of the world, or the Snoop Dogs of the world, or people like that, but we also had the Public Enemies of the world and the Tribe Called Quest, and people, they weren't necessarily just saying, oh, super positive, be great, be this, that, another, but they were just showing you another way of life that wasn't the hood, it wasn't violence and terror all the time. So I think it is, most of it falls on the adults in the neighborhood to help groom children, but it is some responsibility on hip hop to do a little better, I think. You can't just say it's not our fault.
I mean, and Jay-Z had a dope line in the song. He said, Scarface the movie did more than Scarface the rapper to me. So it's like, how come Hollywood and the people who make the video games, stuff like that, how come they don't share some of this backlash that rap gets? I mean, I think rap, of course, some of it is,
balance,
it's out there.
Yeah.
And just like you all said, parents and, guardians and stuff have to be, a little more, they have to pay more attention. I mean, some of that stuff got the parental advisory notices on it. Yeah. Just like movies are rated R, rated MA, and stuff like that. We won't take our child to see that, but we'll let them, buy a CD from Target on the first day it come out and play it all day long through the iPod and stuff like that. Yeah. So it's like, but Hollywood, they don't, and especially the video games. We'll let our child stand in line for a day to spend $65 for a video game. That's all it is shooting. They can play online all day long. So it's like they don't share that same blame. I was like, is that fair? Is that fair to hip hop? Like,
it's supply and demand. It's like, back in the day when we did have all these influential rappers that were telling stories. That was good until that one ratchet song came out. And then it went platinum. And then it was like, this is what you do to make money in the game. Like, you can be a good influence, but at the end of the day, you want to make money. Sex sells. Like, at the end of the day, you want to make money. This is what you need to talk about. It's what our culture has decided to consume, and we have to change it. It's the same thing with reality TV. Like, first reality show
Yep.
popped up, wasn't even a big deal. But then all of a sudden the network said, oh, wow, so 100 million people showed
Yep.
it.
The
showed
more
up.
ratchet,
So,
the better.
you know what?
Yep.
Everything, reality TV, make it ratchet, everybody fight, because that's what makes money. So until we decide that we want to change the culture, it's not going to change. Like, the machine is always going to be the face of what we desire. And it's not our children that's desiring it. It's the majority of the adults that are feeding
They don't
it.
have money to buy anything.
Right.
Yeah.
We're buying it, and she's right. Like, if you want to compare movies, you know, the random movie theater shooting is rare, right? You don't always hear about that. When it happens, you hear about it on the news, but it's not like that's happening every single day.
Yeah.
But in Chicago and New Jersey, young black youth are dying every single day.
Yeah.
In D.C.,
But
in Baltimore,
it's
right?
just like the stuff that they taken from the movies, like say Scarface, Godfather, like those those
Yeah.
gangster movies that
Yeah.
that come on regular cable now. Like, it ain't just on.
But I guess you
your
can say that
HBOs.
those industries offer a bit more balance. Like, not every movie that's coming out is Scarface or being promoted is Scarface. In hip hop, it seems like every album that's being promoted is some kid talking about something negative.
And
that's on the record labels and on the radio stations.
And then, but most of that stuff, if you listen to the words and just the wordplay of it, a lot of that stuff is it comes from those movies, Scarface,
I agree with
Godfather,
that.
stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know, that's where that stems from.
I think it does to a certain extent, but a lot of it comes from the streets.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
a lot of the rappers out there don't live that life.
Yeah, exactly. This is very
They're
true.
just like, oh, okay, well, I need to be this because y'all want me to be
Yeah.
this. Like, but then when it's somebody who really is from the streets,
Yeah.
steps into the rap game, you realize all of a sudden they do not know how to act.
That's right.
And that's how you know that there is an imbalance. And this isn't really what people want to be, but it's like at the end of the day, this is what people want to see. Because I'm not gonna lie, like, I can hold myself accountable for being a well-respected woman, but when I get in my car, I like to listen to ratchet music. It makes me
Ratchet.
feel good. Like, I don't want anybody to see me listening to
Right,
it,
yeah.
but I'm consuming it. Like, I like it. So it's the same thing. You can't.
No, I know. Like, I'm gonna let you jump in on this. A lot of like the former entertainers that may have came up in that civil rights era.
Okay.
They always speak on what hip hop, what entertainers should be doing. In the community, like they feel like they don't do enough. They don't take enough responsibility. They feel like they should be giving back more. Is that fair to say that? Like, do you think that they should, or is that just
Well, I think a lot of it is like just common. It's my wife doesn't like me to use this word, but common sense.
That's a great.
I mean, children don't always process or are capable of processing, like the cursing, the violence, the messages of violence. But I don't know if I would necessarily put hip hop out there as the only genre that's responsible. I mean, you have rage music.
Yeah.
I mean, so many different types of things, genres that share responsibility.
Yeah.
And of course, old school, it was different, more love music or whatever. But of course, the common sense part of it is that, as someone mentioned, that children do oftentimes what it is that pleases older people, and they follow. But they don't always understand. They follow because they want to please. They want to fit in. The peer pressure again. So we lead. And it is up to us to take the lead.
Absolutely.
I agree.
We're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back. When we come back, I do want to talk about another part of the hip-hop pop culture, and that's this shoe crazy thing we got going on here in our community. So we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll jump into that. Thank you. Welcome back to the studio with Will J. Now, I wanted to talk to you all about the shoe craze that we had going on. Like, we've heard, people stand in lines for hours with their, folding chairs, people getting robbed in those lines, getting shot.
Yep.
Even just recent, I think in Georgia somewhere, a guy tried to rob the line and he ended up getting shot and killed.
And people stayed in line.
Yeah, and people stayed in line,
got their Jordans.
for those shoes. Like, my question and what I wanted to talk to you about is why? Why are we, why are we risking our lives for the Jordans, the foam posits, the Yeezys, and even like it's just I seen a picture of the Yeezy line all the way down, like I think it's like Rhode Island Avenue Bridge, like for hours, where they probably had 15 pairs of shoes, but it was 1,000 people. Like, why are we going crazy over these shoes? I mean, Adam, you can jump in on it.
Well, it's two parts again. One is American culture. People stand off, for iPods and iPhones, so that's American. Two, when it comes to us, immaterial things, there's a theory that I was taught years ago called the grandfather clock syndrome, where it was, because things go all the way back. We don't like to talk about back in the day and what happened back then, because it shouldn't matter anymore, but it does. You have uneducated slave who sees white master with a grandfather clock, this big, beautiful clock, and he thinks that's wealth. And that's all he knows. He doesn't know about investing. He doesn't know that that land that he works on is worth money and all that. He just knows that clock is pretty and master has it in there. And it passes down, big car, big chain, big nice shoes, all that. So we see that as wealth. If I'm on the block and I have on the Jordan 11s and I'm that dude. I'm the wealthiest dude on the block. We show our wealth. And the only way to knock that down is to kill somebody else for that wealth. I take that from you. So it's part of that. And it's also part of just American culture. They teach us in America to go for material, stand out front for an iPhone or for whatever, and just, do
But you're
whatever.
less than if you don't have it.
Exactly.
No.
Like Adam said, I believe it goes back, there's the theory, he's talked about theories, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Status. It's an obtainable status.
Yes.
It's a tangible item that is obtainable, oftentimes by individuals who may not obtain economic status. They may not obtain status in corporate America. They may not obtain status in other arenas, but it's like an immediate gratification of status, even though it is a negative process to obtain that status. Yeah. But your status is such a strong motivator.
Yeah. I would agree with that.
And I think part of it is some of it is parenting. I mean, to say is your household is saying, hey, look, we can't afford these shoes this month. You don't have, you can't afford them. There's no need for you to go out there killing. They're gonna come back out. Like it's no need for all that. I just think that it's just so much we see on TV. It's just like we gotta have this, we gotta have that, and we look crazy.
Yeah.
And I also think media plays a big part in it as well because they highlight it so much, and people see it. They're like, "Oh, let's do it." It's like a copycat killer type thing.
Man.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that part of it is sad. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love Jordans. I love LeBrons and stuff like that. And I've never until this past winter stood in line for a pair of shoes, and I only did it.
Why did you do it?
I only did it to see what the hype was.
Okay, you were investigative reporting.
Exactly. I was working.
All right.
I
got
working,
you.
and I was the third person in line.
Oh,
Thank you very
okay.
much. And I got my shoes. But what I mean? I did it to see what it was about and see who was actually out in those lines. And it wasn't just little kids though. It was grown adults, grown men talking about
spending their whole check.
Exactly. And they out there talking about all the ones they got already. Yeah. And the next ones they're gonna get like it was just regular conversation.
I mean, there's a shoe culture. We don't want to discount that. There are people that actually collect the shoes, love the shoes, just like people collect art. And you also can't discount the feeling of having nothing ever in your life, because we always, we only talk about the kid that's the wannabe. Somebody that's living in the burbs and they want to be a thug. They are people that actually have never had anything. And they get desperate. And they see this guy who's probably has obtained these things by the wrong means, by selling drugs or what have you. They see this guy and they say, you know what, I want to be like this dude. And that's what they see. They see the shoe. And they're willing to do anything just to get that shoe. It's a symbol of success. It's like how people snatch chains. Not because they really want the chain. It's just saying it's like victory around your chest. Like, I won. I got the Jordans now. I'm the man. That's just how some people think.
I can't speak on Jordans. I don't wear tennis shoes. But as a woman, just the heel epidemic. Or, like every little girl wants some red bottoms because she saw Beyonce with them. And then you go to college and then you are nobody on college campus. And so you can walk on campus with some red bottoms. You might not have a dime in that account. But if you don't have no red bottoms and a Louis Vuitton purse, you are nobody.
Right. You can be the noodles.
But that's just like it. And I had friends in college who would spend their entire refund check on discounted red bottoms and wear them every day religiously.
Not your refund check.
Because that's what they
Yeah.
wanted, because it was a status. And this is saying, like, when Kanye West's white T-shirt came out, did y'all hear about
Oh
that?
my God, yep.
It was like a plain white T-shirt, $150, sold out on the first day. Like, who's buying that? One. And what is that, like, what does that give you? What fulfillment do you get that? Like, you know what, dog? Like, you don't know about this white
Right,
T-shirt.
this white tee. I got one on underneath this shirt right now. $150 white tee.
Right. It's like all we're doing is feeding the machine again. And we just have to really find self-confidence in ourselves and say, I'm okay without it, which is hard.
It is, especially
Because
when
we
you're
all
young.
have our thing. Like, you know, it might not be tennis shoes, but I can say I have my thing that makes me feel good when I'm feeling low.
Yeah.
So everybody has to just find that self-esteem and that self-gratification, say that I am who I'm supposed to be, and I'm okay with not having it.
Yeah, that's right. I think like a lot of people, it's kind of switch gears a little bit. A lot of people blame the shoe companies, the athletes, like because of the prices of the shoes, things of that nature. Is that fair? Like,
No.
I don't even know how much an athlete has to say in that, you know, how much they want to charge for shoes.
Supply and demand.
Completely unfair.
Yeah.
That is the ultimate distraction. That is taking all the responsibility. You don't talk about the killer, the person that killed for the shoes. You
Yeah.
want to blame Michael Jordan because Michael Jordan is making a profit on something.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, you know, whoever makes red bottoms, they price their shoes at whatever price. You know, Apple prices their phones at $500. Why don't we get on Steve Jobs or whoever? Why is it Michael Jordan? You know, Michael Jordan has nothing to do with that. Him bringing the price of his shoes down, another shoe is going to come out. Somebody's going to kill. I remember when we were younger, they were killing for Triple Fat Goose or Eddie Bauer. Yeah, exactly. It doesn't.
Those ugly things.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't matter. I think that's like I said, it's much easier to blame somebody else for your problems and say that it's because of Michael Jordan. He put the shoe in our community and now everybody wants to kill for it. No, there's someone running around your community right now that you probably know that killed somebody for a shoe, and you're not even talking about him. You're talking about Michael Jordan and his shoe. That you're right. He probably didn't even approve the price of that shoe. It doesn't. That's silliness.
Yeah. All great points. And we're gonna take a quick break. When we come back, we're gonna talk solutions. Like we tend to talk a lot, but you know now it's time for some solutions. What can we do to help prevent some of these, you know, crazy things from happening in our communities? We'll be right back. Welcome back. Today we talked a lot about the violence in our communities and things that cause the violence in our communities. But that's what we did. We talked. You know, a lot of times people get to do a lot of talking, but nobody really even provides any real solutions or real ideas to, you know, to work towards crime prevention and violence prevention. I want to kind of get you guys' thoughts on what we can do to prevent crime and things of that nature in our communities. I'll start with you, Doc.
I offer a website, 10list.us, the number 10, list.us. It's about teaching legal behaviors from pre-K through 12th grade to guide behavior. Because it's very sad that we're to the point that our value systems are so off that we're killing each other over tangibles and we're being played. I mean, the focus is totally off. I mean, who wins? We don't win. I mean, the entrepreneurs win if you really think about it, and forces that are really against certain groups win because we're imploding. We turn in on each other. So we need to wake up.
I definitely think that it's a wake-up call, and it's going to come between aligning the resources and the people in need. So be it, you know, for those who feel like they have children out there who need help or support, like really go to your local churches, go to your local school districts. There's so many resources out there to keep a lot of our children busy. If you're not there able to be in your child's life the way you wish you could, like find a mentor, boys and girls clubs. There's just so many things that we just need to do and be actively looking for, and at the same time actively offering for individuals in our young community.
Rebuild the village.
There it is.
Stop blaming kids for being kids, be an adult. If you see something going on in your neighborhood, speak up. Discipline your children. Raise your children. Care about the kids in your neighborhood, even if they aren't your kids. Step up. I mean, you know, that's where you can start. Step up. If you don't have a football team in your neighborhood, start one. Start a little team. Start a little project or whatever. Do what you can in your neighborhood and build that village back up.
Sounds good. I would like to thank you all for joining me today. You know, taking time out your busy schedule to help me get this out. I mean, I think this is very important. You know, and it's something that's needed. This positive energy, and you know, people working towards, you know, giving solutions. I think a lot of times we talk, but the talking is good. Like, and it's not just when it's in the media, not when it's just a hot topic, but, you know, talking is just sitting and talking about what we can do to prevent this stuff from happening, preventing the next Trayvon Martin, things of that nature, preventing that kind of thing, stuff from happening. And, you know, I think it's time for people to really get up and start taking action. If you're not the, you know, I always say, if you're not the action taking type of person, support the people that are, you know, because what you do, like what people tend to do is sit back and they complain, but when like nonprofits and schools and stuff like that are reaching out for donations to keep programs going, we don't support. We look at it as like, oh, I don't have $5, you know, like that kind of thing. So don't knock the people that's trying to help the communities. Always say, you know, support. If it's $1, if it's $5, those people will be appreciative. 'Cause it's hard to get, you know, money to keep stuff going. And always say, vote. You know, if you're able to vote and you're a voter, vote. Like, not just for the presidential vote, that's very important, but those local governments are what directly affects you, you know, in the long run. Because those people who vote on if there should be more playgrounds and your budgets in your counties and things of that nature. So I think, you know, if you're not the action type, take action. I mean, you know, support the people who are, vote, and, you know, don't complain. But just don't only talk about it when it's in the media. So this was a great show. And again, thank you all. And this has been another episode of In the Studio with Will J. And of course, if you have any questions, comments, feel free to email me at will@willdjackson.com. Always can follow me on Twitter at WillJSpeaks. Thank you. Peace.